What's good, y'all, and welcome to my review for Moon Knight, ladies and gentlemen. Bruh. We did it, boys. This show fucking slaps. This show is what it needed to be. Not completely what it needed to be. You guys know me. I mentioned my first impressions and shit, but this show was everything I wanted it to be. Maybe not as much because, like I said, there's some other stuff like I wish if I would that we probably would have gotten if this was airing, if this was one of the Netflix series. But for Disney Plus, I am more than pleased with what we got in these 6 episodes, man. And I loved it. I like, this is definitely the best of the Disney Plus shows. I know I've basically been saying that for almost all of them, where I'm like, oh, this one is better than the last one. This one's better than the last one. But I mean, in this one, it is the case, man. This show's on hell. I like this better than Shang-Chi, if you ask me, man. Like, bro, this show, I'm so happy to see how good this show turned out, and they didn't really skim for like censor or anything really Moon. I mean, yeah, there's some stuff in there that we probably would have seen if this was on Netflix, like, you know, Moon Knight carving off people's faces. That would have been cool, you know, but for what we got, man, listen, this show is amazing, and this is what, and I mentioned this on Twitter like a few minutes ago before I start recording this. This is the closest we'll ever get to the Netflix series on Disney Plus. Like, listen, I know there's Echoes, and we got, you know, like her with like the Daredevil characters gonna be showing up there. Honestly, I'm only interested in Echoes just to see Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox. That's the only reason I'll be watching it. I'll be like, I don't care about Echoes. She's an alright character. I don't think she should be getting her own show, but the only reason I'll be excited for that show is just to see Daredevil again, to see the man without fear. But, you know, we got that, and I know there's rumors about season 4 is shooting, or is going to be shooting soon, or whatever, which maybe, you know, I'm not going to believe it until I see it with my own damn 2 eyes with that one, man. But, like, I doubt that if Daredevil season 4 is a thing, it'll be like the Netflix, it'll be as gory as a Netflix series, it'll be as stylish as a Netflix series, it'll be as dark as a Netflix series, one-take action scenes like the Netflix series, you know, but without counting all that, from the shows that we have gotten, and I mentioned this before in my previous videos, that this show needed to be like the Netflix series, to be like the Netflix series in terms of its like tone and everything. For as much as this is probably the edgiest Disney Plus will ever go, man. This is probably the farthest Disney Plus will ever go to that R rate. This is the closest they will get to it, man. You know, but hey, man, I am still thoroughly pleased, and they did an amazing job with this series. Seriously, shout out to everyone that worked on the show, man. Y'all did an amazing job. Anyway, enough of me rambling. Let's just jump right in, boys. So the show stars, of course, Oscar Isaac, May Calloway, Ethan Hawke, and many more. And the plot of Moon Knight: Stephen Grant, mercenary Mark Spencer investigate the mysteries of the Egyptian gods from inside the same body. Now, first up, we got to talk about is the cast. Bruh, Oscar Isaac, man. I mentioned this on Twitter with episode 5, which I will say is the best episode of the series. Hell, that's probably my favorite of any of the Disney Plus episodes. I know it's over the first episode, but I'm going to say it again for the 5th one. That episode was amazing. And like I said, that was like Netflix. That was Daredevil season 3 quality shit, man. And and they didn't shy away from the darker themes. I mean, they probably didn't go as far as if it was. I know I'm comparing it so as the Netflix, but that's just because I love the Netflixers so much, and that's what I think all the Marvel shows should be like. I want more Marvel shows, and hell, more superheroes, and just to be of the quality of the Netflix series. And I wanted Moon Knight to be there. Like I said, I love what we got here. I'm just saying, like, you know, they probably would have gotten even farther if it was on Netflix, man. I know I keep harping on the Netflix series. That's just because I love them so much, man. But anyway, I'll try to stop harping on the Netflix series as much. But Oscar Isaac in the show is fucking amazing. Not only as Stephen Grant, which he's amazing as. I love the accent. Like, it's Steven. I love the accent, man. Not only as Mark, which he's also amazing at. It's also that, and he's like, but yo, his performance in episode 5, bro, it is without the best performance in the MCU since Charlie Cox in Daredevil season 3, man. Like, bro, Oscar Isaac, man, he fucking kills in the show, man. He is so goddamn good. Like I said, with episode 5, which we'll talk more about episode 5 in the spoilers, because that's probably the episode I'll probably be talking the most about outside the post-credit scene. But bro, episode 5. My God, what an episode that was. So, Oscar Isaac was great. May Callaway, however you pronounce her last name. She's amazing as Layla. I loved her. Loved her dynamic with Mark and Steven. She was a great, man. Ethan Hawke, fantastic as Arthur. Loved him. F. Murray Abraham, if I'm pronouncing his last name, who was the voice of Khonshu. This man stole the show, man. He stole the show every time he was on screen, man. I fucking loved Khonshu. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys know how much I was just ecstatic about how much I was losing whenever Khonshu was on screen, man. I love Khonshu in this show, man. He was so fucking awesome, man. Especially around the beginning part of the series where he's like arguing with like Steven and shit, man. Fucking loved him. Loved his performance, and I loved how Khonshu was handling the show, man. He's fucking awesome, man. He stole the show every time he was on screen, man. So, that is one thing we got to talk. The cast is amazing. The next thing I gotta say is I'm so happy to see the cinematography in this show and the directing as well is spot on. I am so happy to finally see something in the MCU that actually has some semblance of style. You know, because listen, I'm not gonna go full on like high top is like, oh, this is all nothing but medium shots. The MCU is shot like shit. You know, I'm not gonna go that far. Honestly, most times I don't even care. You know, I'm not even really paying attention to the cinematography like that, like high top is, but it is. But I will say, yeah, the MCU is predominantly shot pretty blandly. And this show actually has some style to it, and it gets creative with camera angles. We already seen all the triangles and shit, mirrors and shit. Like there's so many cool shit this show does with its camera work, man. Like it is very much it is stylish, like the Netflix series were, like Daredevil was, man. Seriously, the cinematography in this show, man. Like there's like this one, like in the last episode I loved, where Arthur and like Mark are going at it, or like flying towards each other off like one of the pyramids, and the camera's like tilting with them, man. And it zooms, man. It looks amazing. And there's so many other amazing shots in the show, man, that you can name off of, man. But yeah, the cinematography in this show is fucking amazing, and I'm so glad to see something in the MCU with actually some style to it, which we haven't really gotten since outside of like Shang-Chi, since the Netflix series, more than likely, but at least off the top of my memory, man. But yeah, the cinematography of the show is fucking incredible, man. I love the way this show looks, man, and like I said, it's super stylish, and I'm so glad to see that back in the MCU. And because especially with how good, how it was in the Netflix series, that was kind of like that with Daredevil and stuff, but also because like, the Batman also looked amazing, so I'm glad to see the MCU is like, okay, let's starting to like catch up to that, man. But yeah, the show looked absolutely fucking incredible, man. Loved it. Seriously. And apparently cinematographer is in talks with Marvel to come back from another project. Great to see that, man. He did an amazing job here, man. His work was amazing. The action scenes are also fantastically done. No one-take action scenes like in Daredevil, but at this point, I'll take what I can get from the Netflix series into the Disney Plus shows in the MCU right now. But even without no one-take action scenes, there's again the MCU. Give me this one more time, man. Come on, like. What do we gotta do to get that back, man? That was like some of the best parts of the Netflix shows with those one-take action scenes in Daredevil, man. But whatever. Can you tell I've been spoiled by Daredevil, man? Marvel Netflix, man, that shit spoiled us, man. That series of shows spoiled us. They spoiled us, man. Those Netflix series spoiled us, man. Because I won't shut up about it. But the action looks amazing, especially like the last episode. There's some really cool shit in there. That I mentioned kind of earlier. There's some, like, even you get some longer takes where we actually see other crazy shit go. I'm trying to avoid spoilers in the spoiler-free section. Don't want to really go too deep with that. But love the action of the show. I thought it was really good. I already mentioned episode 5, which that episode kind of goes into Mark's backstory and everything. And like I said, we'll talk more about that in the spoilers discussion, and I'll probably have a lot more to say about it there. But that episode, man, was amazing. The first episode, you guys know how much I loved it, and how much how badass Moon Knight's introduction is, where like the Jackal is running from him, and Moon Knight drags him back in there to beat the shit out of him. I love that. The show does get pretty the show did get a gory content, which I was glad to see. Nice to see something in the MCU with some actual blood in it, man. Like, not Netflix series probably levels of gore, but like we saw in, like, I believe it was like the first or second episodes what we saw with Mark, when they were like really flipping back and forth between Mark and Steven. That was really well done, man. And yeah, man, Khonshu was great, man. The action was great. The music was really good. The suit, obviously, I think I mentioned this in my first impressions. Love the look of the suit. I love how they kind of went more Egyptian with it and kind of had it appear with like bandages and everything from Khonshu rather than being a straight costume like it was in the comics. Love the way it looked, man. Seriously, the suit looked amazing. And I already mentioned how great the action scenes were filmed, man. A lot of great shit from there. And yeah, I think that's about all I can talk about in the spoiler-free discussion, man. There is so much more I want to talk about, but I was that all the most enough all that deals with spoilers. So yeah, I'm gonna give you guys my final verdict, which you guys can probably guess already. But I will say, if you guys want me to like criticize one little thing, and it's like the only thing I criticize. This is I mentioned in my first impressions, and I'm just kind of surprised we got it. But the show doesn't have an intro like at all. Not even like the text ones like Loki and Hawkeye did. Like legit, there's nothing. It's just Evie, which I would have liked a little bit of an opening if it was text only. Like I don't like those openings, but I would have liked something. If you want me to criticize one minuscule thing, that's like the only flaw I had with this entire series. Outside maybe the final episode wasn't as good as episode 5, but I don't know how you could top that, man. Episode 5 was fucking amazing, and like it was gonna be very hard to top that episode, man. That episode was amazing in its own right, but yeah, episode 5 was the best episode in the entire series, and probably my favorite of the Disney and my favorite of all the Disney Plus series. Seriously, that shit was like Daredevil season 3 quality shit, man. But anyway, guys, so yeah, give you guys my final verdict, and then we'll get into the spoiler discussion, and that's when we'll really talk about the Moon Knight and just go off, man. So I'm excited. Anyway, so obviously, as you guys can probably guess, my final verdict for Moon Knight is a 10 out of fucking 10, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, like I said, we are now entering the spoilers discussion, so if you guys have not watched Moon Knight and do not want to be spoiled, leave now. Everyone else, let us continue. So, first off, let's talk about Steven. Love Steven, but first off, I know some people, because I didn't want to talk about Mr. Knight in the sports reads because I'm like, it's kind of spoilerish, but it did kind of show up pretty early on the show. Where kind of would that fit? But I was like, fuck, I'll just put it all in the spoiler discussion. But I know a lot of people probably took some issues with Mr. Knight being just basically Steven's Moon Knight, basically his suit. You know, and he isn't like how he was in the comics and all that shit, which I can understand. I dig Mr. Knight from what I've read of it in the most recent comic, but I loved how he was Mr. Knight was used as Steven's basically superhero persona, I guess if you want to call it that. Don't really know, but I loved how Mr. Knight was used, and I love Steven, man. Steven was fucking awesome show. And he was like, oh yeah, bro, come on. Sound like a bird. He was like, what was it? What the hell did he say? Something, sting like a bee, man. In like the second episode when he's facing the jackal, man. And his interactions with Khonshu, man, are fucking hilarious. When he's like getting chased by the jackal, he's like, jackal, and then he's like falling out the window, and Khonshu screaming at him, summon the suit. And then, of course, that's when the Mr. Knight suit pops up, man. So, yeah, that was fucking awesome, man. Khonshu was incredible. I love the episode. Like this also goes over just how beautiful the show looks, man. Seriously, the cinematography in the show was incredible, and also the directing as well. I thought was also amazing, like I mentioned before. But like when they have to like shift the star system to like 2,000 years ago or whatever it was to get it back, basically, so they know the exact location of like one of the tombs or whatever. The shot when it's finally done, man, just when it was happening, looked absolutely beautiful, man. So shout out to the visual effects artists that worked on the show, man. They did an amazing job, and obviously Khonshu getting sealed away was very sad because I loved Khonshu, man. He was amazing. I thought the part where we actually went to the mental hospital and the show started to fuck with us, and I'm like, oh, is it all in his head? It's like, because I believe this was directly ripped from one of the more recent Moon Knight comics. I want to say it was the last one before Jade McKay took over. I think this was back like, what, 2016, 17-ish, I think that's what this one happened, when Moon Knight was locked, when Mark was locked in the asylum, and they're like, oh, is he XO? Was all it real, or was Moon Knight and everything all in his head, man? Like, I love those episodes, and, you know, the interaction between Mark and Steve when they're now two separate people was great, man. The hippo was funny, but, yeah, I want to talk about a couple other things before we get into the actual episode 5, and we just go, and I just gush about that episode. Yeah, so I love that. Mark. One thing I did find kind of funny is like, you know, Steven actually ends up kissing Layla, which does that count as cheating? I do wonder if that counts as cheating or not, but yeah, that episode was pretty funny when Mark is like arguing with Steve and telling him not to touch her. That was pretty funny. But yeah, let's move on to the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene, that's obviously when we see Jake Lockley makes appearance, which he kind of made an appearance early in like I believe it was episode 5 as well, where it's like, oh yeah, they're paying you a lot of money to be here. Which I didn't even noticed the voice change there, but so I noticed. But then people on Twitter were pointing it out about the voice change that it's not Steve and it has to be Jake. Which I didn't know until I saw those tweets, and I was like, oh yeah, that's probably when Jake makes appearance. But then obviously Jake makes his full appearance in the last episode in the post-credit scene, which is only a mid-credit scene, no post-credit scene. I'd stay through the whole thing just to check. But yeah, just a mid-credit scene where Jake comes out and he's rocking this little like fedora or whatever the fuck those hats are called, man. He comes in there, grabs Arthur out there and Conchu. I was honestly, right here is what I was hoping that Mark would that Jake would like cut his face off or something. I don't know. I was hoping somebody would get their face carved off at the end of the series. I was hoping for that, man, because Moon Knight did that in the comics. It's fucking badass. But obviously that would have been something that would have been the Netflix series. That's too dark for Disney. That's too gory for Disney Plus and the little kitties. Imagine the look on their faces, the faces of horror on their face when they see Jake Lockley carved off a man's face. Oh man, that would be awesome. Man. That would be funny. But anyway, you looked awesome, man. I love Jake from the little bits that we got here. See where he kills off Arthur. And yeah, so it looks like Khonshu got a way in to keep Mark connected keep Mark as his avatar through Jake Lockley. And Jake Lockley, man. Lad. Jake Lockley, as far as I know, is meant to be a taxi driver, correct? Well, Mark's supposed to be the big badass, mercenary and Moon Knight and all that shit. But Jake, this man don't fuck around. We saw this in the first episode, maybe even the third episode, or maybe the fourth episode, whichever episode was the second time when they went back when they finally reached Egypt, when Mark loses control and basically next time he comes back or Steven comes back, there's a bunch of dead bodies and there's blood all over him and we're like, what the fuck happened? And obviously it was Jake taking over, man. But from the carnage that Jake would leave, man, Jake did not fuck around, man. Seriously, Jake. Don't fuck with it. And I hope that this show gets a season 2, a movie, or something. I just hope we see more of Moon Knight. I know Oscar Isaac was only contracted to the series, so there's a maybe. So maybe I mean, for the post-credit scene, it looks like we are going to see more Moon Knight, but maybe they might end up having to recast him if Oscar Isaac still want to come back or something. I don't know. I just know I believe he was just only contracted for this series, so that's been interesting. Hopefully Oscar stays because he's fucking awesome and I loved him. But yeah, Jake was awesome. Cool shit. I loved in the last episode we got when Jake is talking with when Laura actually breaks Khonshu out of his little stone thing. Then Khonshu starts to offer her the position of his avatar, and that whole thing was fucking hilarious. He's like, "Will you protect the wanderers of the night?" And she's like, "Are you fucking insane? Why would I agree after what you did to Mark?" That was awesome. That was funny. I love that scene. And the whole final battle was fucking awesome. When Khonshu is going up against the alligator god, man, like a fucking Godzilla fight, man. That was pretty badass. While Mark and Arthur are throwing it down there, and they're switching back and forth between that and Mr. Knight, and they're all we actually see Steven actually kick some ass in the last episode where he's just using those stick things he got and just laying it down, motherfuckers, man. That was awesome, man. I loved how they were. Then it was funny in the last episode when they were switching back and forth, after Khonshu sees that Steven is still alive after he got shot, which I was shocked to see Steven and Mark technically died for a bit, and of course the guy went to the mental hospital and all that shit, which I'll get to episode 5 in a second. But I love the intro when Mark and Khonshu finally reunite. Steven is so what's his deal? And he's like, Are you seriously negotiating at a time like this with all this on the line? That was funny. But now let's talk about episode 5, man. So this is the episode that went over Mark's backstory, and we finally got to see it. Now, at first, I was wondering if they were actually going to cut out the part of him being a Jew, because when we first see Mark, he was a kid, and we also see he has a little brother, I believe. And then, but he wasn't wearing the cap thing that Jews typically wear, and I'm like, oh, they couldn't, because I remember, because Mark, when we see him as a kid, was around the same age as that kid from Stephen King's It, who one of them was Jewish and he had the cap. So I was like, I noticed he wasn't wearing it. I'm like, oh, are they cutting that out? Is he not a Jew in this version? Well, that's gonna piss off people on Twitter. But then as the episode progresses, you see, no, they didn't. They kept the little things there. They're like, yes, he's Jewish. So, but yeah, that's the one thing I kind of know. But anyway, as the episode, like Steven is like traveling through Mark's memories, and like that whole those whole 2 episodes when Mark and Steven were locked in the mental institution, they're going through their memories and everything. Man, so that shit was awesome. But yo, as the episode progresses, we get to the last. We get find out what happened to to Mark's brother, and and he ended up like drowning or something because they went to like this cave or something while it was raining. And then of course his mom fucking loses. Honestly, Mark's mental issues probably comes from his mom because his mom definitely isn't all there. Because she loses her mind, she starts blaming him for everything, man. And then she's like, and then we see like one time where like we actually see where Stephen Brad came from. It was from like this old like adventure Indiana Jones style movie. I guess Stephen Mark used to watch. So and he was like, and then you see him just swing. Like his mom is like banging on the door, telling Mark to open up. He just switches over, and Stephen takes over. And we find out Stephen was meant to be Mark's protector and all this shit, man. Oh man, that shit was heart wrenching. And then we see her like actually come with the belt. Like now we never actually see her whipping him with the belt, but the fact that they went this far with the dark themes and everything, like I wouldn't say this is definitely going as far or as dark as when we got in Daredevil season 3, where spoiler for Daredevil season 3. For some reason, you haven't seen it yet. Um, when um, with Matt's mom having postpartum depression. You obviously have the shit going on with Karen. All that was happening to her that happened between the events of season 1 that happened before season 1 and a little leading into season 1. We saw in season 3, man, what happened to her, man. There was a lot of crazy shit that happened in Daredevil season 3, and I was glad to see that the Moon Knight series did not shy away from tackling these more mature adult themes, but yeah, I love that part. Like they never really showed it, but you can put the two and two together. And then we see this one door that like that Steven wants to go into. He's like, "What's behind that door?" And then Mark tells him like keeps mouthing, which I do wonder what the hell was behind that door. I wonder if that's something that was maybe that's something from like the comics that the Disney Plus series to cover. If you guys know for certain, if you guys are more familiar with Moon Knight content, leave that down in the comments below. But that I found pretty interesting, and. Yeah, man. I love that, man. But then obviously when his mom, and then we also see like his birthdays, his mom never shows up, or when the one time she does, she doesn't shut up about how it's all his fault, man. And oh, bro, that whole episode was so heart wrenching. But then we then get to his mom's funeral. She dies, and we see Mark is outside the house. And his dad's motioning him to come in. Mark just shakes his head, man, no. And then we just see Mark just breaking out in tears, man, bro. Yo, this is why I say that this is Oscar Isaac gives the best MCU performance as Charlie Cox in season 3, man, because my man goes in here, man. When he takes the cap thing off, I don't know what it's called. I'm sorry, I'm not Jewish. Where he takes the hat or cap thing off, man, he's just crying and everything, and then he just switches over to Steven, man, and Steven's like, "Oh, blimey, where am I? Oh, what's going on? Oh, hey, mom. Oh, what's going on? I got lost again." And then we see and then we find out or Steven finds out his mom is dead, which I guess technically, or I guess he's referring to Mark's mom. Bruh, that shit was so heartbreaking, man. And Steven, I love Steven. Hopefully we see more of Steven, man. I don't know if this is remotely accurate to how Steven is in the comments, man, but I loved it, man. I love Steven, man. That whole episode. There's a bunch of other shit that I'm probably missing out on. I'm forgetting, but that whole section where you see Mark's backstory and we see just how dark it is, man. I just love that the show actually did go that far with it, and they didn't kind of like shy away from it, which I was glad to see because that was something that the Netflix series wasn't scared of doing. They weren't scared of tackling more mature adult themes, which is one of the things that made those series so special. But obviously, I'm going off on the Netflix series again, man. But yeah, man, that whole episode, man, bro. That episode was amazing. Like I said, Oscar Isaac's performance, I the entire thing. And then, of course, when Steven gets thrown overboard and dies, technically, like, bruh, your boy was hot. Your boy was heartbroken to see Steven die, man. I was like, Steven! But that was awesome, man. And Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. Like it's because this is like the third superhero we've or like superhero we've got that has like DID that has DID. You know, first obviously, of course, the first one was obviously with James McAvoy was Split. Then we had the woman from Iron Fist season 2. I literally completely forgot she was a character in Iron Fist season 2. Then I was until I was like looking at this movie and I was like, oh yeah, right, Iron Fist season 2 also did this too. Had a character with DID. I almost forgot about that. I completely forgot about that woman. And then of course we have Moon Knight Man. And, I loved how they handled the DID thing um where we see just the camera just start like doing that zoom in and like it starts to cut out before the personality shift, or we just kind of see it seamlessly happen when Mark is just screaming is like just completely distraught over his mom, and then it just switches over to Steve and be like to he was the one that wasn't supposed to see us. He was the one that was supposed to have a loving mother, man, and he was just Steve, the guy that just to protect Mark, man. Ugh. Oh god, this show is so fucking good, man. Oh, there's probably so much more messing to talk about, man. But oh yeah, I completely forgot to mention. I just remember. I just forgot to mention this. Layla also gets powers. I guess she becomes an avatar. I believe she's the avatar of the Hippo God we saw in episode 5, which loved her character. She was awesome. Love the design of her suit. I don't know if this is from the comics. I wouldn't be surprised this isn't bullshit just from the MCU. But I like the design of the suit. Thought it looked really really cool. I like the wings. How it looked nice. I love the comedy as well. The humor show is amazing. It's like a perfect blend between Venom style comedy, especially the first couple episodes when Khonshu was arguing with Steven, man, and just with the style of the Netflix series, man. It just this show is everything I want it to be, within the reason of knowing that this is Disney Plus and it's not gonna be like Netflix. This show did everything it needed to be, man. I was more than satisfied. Obviously, I wish that the show did go that full rated R and there was tons of blood and Mark was carving up people's faces and shit. But for what we got, man, for what Disney Plus, I know Disney Plus was willing to go for, man. I'm more than pleased that we got, man. And this shows up. I hope we get a season 2 or like a movie or something that's a continuation of Mark's story, man, because I love Moon Knight. I'm loving his new comic, and I just want to see more of him, man. Moon Knight's one of my favorite Marvel characters now. He just is, man. I love him. But yeah, I've rambled on long enough, going off about how amazing this series is and how it's like the Daredevil of Disney Plus shows, man. But yeah, love this show. Absolutely love it, man. Obviously, like always, guys, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. And yeah, that's where we're going to this video off. I've rambled on long enough, praising, singing the show's praises enough, man. But yeah, check the show out, man, if you haven't already. Read Moon Knight's comics while you're at it, man. Read those comics. I've heard his comics are fucking amazing, man. I can definitely attest the Jade McKay's run has been fucking legendary in its own right, man. But yeah, don't really got much more to say than that, guys. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like, if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you feel like it. Links out screen box below. And as always, subscribe for more. See you guys next time.